morning to everyone. I'm Milnana Akara and I'm here with my co-host Lenmini Tuduhena. Before we dive into today's sessions, let's give a rundown of what happened yesterday.
The day began with the obligatory rundown and morning show. The event went into full swing there onwards with a panel discussion featuring seasoned lecturers, a webinar and some clips of the gaming competition. And before we knew it, we were at the end of the day with the penultimate event being an interview with the alumni and to top it all off, a webinar. We hope to carry on the momentum and build upon yesterday's success. And let's get into the show now, shall we?
Sure. So what are we going to discuss about today?
Well, ever since the Industrial Revolution, we use machines for transport. The workhorses of yesteryear have become a threat to our very own existence. They have been polluting the air decades by decades, ceaselessly burning fossil fuels, and now has culminated in global warming too.
So Lenmini, what do you think about zero fuel transportation? Do you think there are alternatives to zero fuel transportation methods, excluding electric vehicles?
To be honest, ancient people used zero fuel vehicles. We can consider horse carriages, rickshaws and bicycles as zero fuel vehicles too. But jokes aside, a pretty lateral candidate would be hydrogen powered cars. But they are functionally identical to electric cars. So electric power seems to be the only zero fuel transportation alternative, I guess.
I couldn't agree more. Also, talking about the effects of this zero fuel transport would have on the world, the global carbon footprint, especially over their lifetime, would be significantly smaller than their internal combustion engine counterparts. So the effects of using them would have a sustainability positive effect on global scale.
The only drawback I believe electric transport has is the cost. As it stands out now, they are very expensive.
You're right there. Then again, if you look at this, electric cars have only gone mainstream in the last decade or so. So the race amongst car manufacturers to outdevelop each other. They naturally invest heavily to get ahead of this competition. But then they've also got to offset the massive investment too, right?
I understand, but do you not think prices should be starting to plateau right about now? There are already plans in the European Union to ban internal combustion engines by the end of this decade. So, if electric transport has to take over such a massive vehicle consumer market, it should be affordable. Don't you think? It must also be affordable for people like me.
Yes, but you've got a point there. But I kind of feel like the technology is still in its infancy. For instance, the on-year increase of electric car range is not that impressive, and that reflects the fact that electric vehicles are still on the development curve.
I did some digging around and found that electric vehicles are very discreet polluters. They are chock full of rare materials which require extensive mining and shipping operations. I feel like electric vehicle manufacturers aren't the eco-warriors they paint themselves to be.
Well, I think there are two sides to the picture. Firstly, the vehicle cells do require pretty large scale mining and transportation operations, but when you factor the fact that the only greenhouse gases emitted during an electric vehicle's life is during its resource procurement phase, and the longevity of the vehicle's overall life, the carbon footprint is once again significantly lesser than its internal engine counterpart.
Fair point. It would be really great if Sri Lanka was to invest in the alternate approach, wouldn't it? Who knows, it may even be a long-term solution that we need.
Speaking only in terms of the current situation, going all electric isn't a very viable option, simply due to the reason that Sri Lanka lacks the necessary infrastructure. Perhaps one day when Sri Lanka has attained the required infrastructure, then I believe electric vehicles may be considered a sustainable long-term solution. That's a fair assessment.
Only time will tell if Sri Lanka embarks on an electric era.
That's pretty much it of the viewers. We believe that you gained something from today's session. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere because we've got a raft of shows lined up just for you, brought to you by the ITV. Right, before we get on, let's see what happened in the last few weeks of Cutting Edge. We had few back-to-back interviews and also with distinguished individuals, Ms. Naomi Krishnaraja and Professor PSM Gunaratna.
All in all, yesterday was an emphatic success.
Without further ado, let's dive into today's show.
Well, to be honest, at the beginning, it was very depressive because we've been used to looking at the kids and interacting live with the students and teaching. And when we moved to online, we were in front of screen and talking to a screen, which was not at all happy. It was pretty depressing.
Thanks, Vishal, for that wonderful introduction, and it gives me great pleasure to speak to you at Cutting Edge, showcasing some of the amazing things you have gone on to make over the last couple of months, if not years. And I'm very excited to see what you as young entrepreneurs and enablers will be able to do over the next couple of years.
Entertainment has always been an important part of our life. People use different sources of entertainment such as sports and traveling. But with the pandemic, people have chosen more indoor activities such as watching movies and playing video games.
I currently work at Yenlo. I'm in IT sales, and Yenlo is a Dutch technology provider that specializes in middleware technology, cloud, and professional services. So,
my initial memory of informatics was when I walked in through the doors here at informatics. My mother was not too far behind me, and I was quite excited as I walked in.
Alright, so I consider this stuff basically when the team reached to me. What I did was I just
Building a digital product is complex, demanding, uncertain. And that's where we come in. We're a group of creative thinkers, digital product specialists, dreamers, and team players. With over 15 years in the industry, 400 innovators, 50 awards, building over 150 digital products for our global customers. We engage in your awesome idea and help bring it to life. 99X, creating impactful digital products together.
Amodara. I really enjoy working at 1 Billion Tech. It has taught me how to become a balanced individual.
Hi, I am Ahmed. I am a final year student of IIT. I joined as an intern and today I am an associate software engineer. 1 Billion Tech helped me to take off my career.
As an undergraduate, the first place where you are going to work is really important, because that's where you get exposed to the corporate world for the first time.
I love WSO2 because of the usage of middlewares and then the systems like open banking and identity servers. So I just love to learn a lot of experience and work on APIs and get my hands on that, so that during my final it will be a really great help.
I was shocked. I was definitely shocked. I didn't expect to get in, and I was ecstatic.
I remember getting the call that they said I was accepted, and I was really happy, and it's a dream come true.
I was happy, and I really can't explain in words, to be honest. During this pandemic situation and all, to get an internship, it's really hard, and I really feel grateful to WSO2 to take me as an intern.
Hello and welcome back, viewers. Now there's no hiding the fact that we use apps for pretty much everything nowadays. From procuring groceries to keeping up with the game scores, the convenience that apps have brought into our world is truly unbelievable. Yet there's something about them that we always take for granted. It's the design and the overall app appearance. Here to shed some light on the matter and enlighten us on this topic, design thinking, the path towards innovation, is a special guest talent in the field. She is currently the UI/UX lead at Acentic Private Limited and believes that a UI/UX designer is dedicated to creating straightforward and innovative designs by listening to the user's challenges. Well, let me welcome Ms. Shamali De Silva to the show. Let's get into the discussion. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for the introduction.
What made you want to tread into this UI or UX path? What was the moment that made you think, right, this is what I want to do?
recalling that moment, I would say it's like almost like 8 years ago when I started my design career, to be honest. So at that time, UI UX was the thing that everyone was talking about. So I got the opportunity to work as associate designer for a reputed IT company. And then there I got the exposure to learn the entire process of how the things are going to really work. And I felt like the happiness to see the designs that I have done is coming into life. I felt that, okay, this is what exactly I really want to pursue in my career, because I was passionate about designing, but when it comes to UI UX, it's a different approach that we always intend to take. So I just felt like, okay, I would like to continue in this career path, and I would like to create products that people will start to love, basically, and to start to adore. So that was that moment I felt like, okay, this is what exactly I'm going to do.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. That was very insightful. Could you kindly share your working process?
Yeah, when it comes to the working process at Ascentic, specifically it differs into different projects that I'm working. With the current project that I'm working is a fully product-based project. So the three steps that we are following is like discover, definition, and development. So if we talk about the discover part, we know, like for the users, always in a product, we have to identify the problem, or we have to identify the user's goals. So identification is really important when it comes to the UI UX aspect. So after identifying the problems, we intend to create all the user personas, and then the user journeys, and then journey maps, observations, and there are other methodologies also we intend to follow when it comes to the user research aspect. So for us, mainly because we are directly dealing with the product, our stakeholder is the one who has that broad idea and the vision about the product. So we basically have these one-on-one sessions with our stakeholder to get his understanding what and where he exactly wants to add into the application, or anything that they really want to work on. So after the discovery session, after we get that requirement, we step into the definition step. So definition is all about like having the task breakdown. You know, the scopes and the requirements are very much vague. So we always have to have a task breakdown, and then we have to identify, prioritize the tasks that we are going to work within the time frame. So medium to high project tasks, all those things will be defined accordingly. So after the task prioritization, we all know sprint planning, design sprints. We start the sprints and then the design sprints. So for me, I'm working alongside with Swedish designers in Sweden. So we have the design sprints with regard to the tasks that we have to work on. Apart from that, once those tasks have been defined, we start the wireframing, the visual designing aspect, the starting with the high fidelity designs, and then prototyping. Figma is the tool that we are basically using for it. So we start with the prototyping, and then we have to get how to say the final UI based on the requirements that they basically need. And apart from that, once the UIs are done, we intend to have these design catch-up meetings, design review meetings with our fellow designers, because having that meetings will always make it very insightful, where we could get their feedback as well. So we basically, within the project that we are working, we do have those kind of meetings, interviews, scheduled. Apart from that, the final one would be the development stage, where we hand over our finalized design to the development team. So on that part as well, we have these, we get along with the development team, maybe one or two developers, the software engineers, and then the QA team as well. Because for the QA team, it's really important to come up with the test cases with the requirements and the UIs what we have done. So we do have those kind of meetings to have that collaboration going on within the team as well. And then after the QA planning, as we all know, documentation is really important. So we use Confluence to do the documentation with the UIs and anything, because if there are a new team member joining into the team, he or she can directly go and have a look at where we are, what are the things that we have done. So documentation is something that's really important. Apart from that, if it's going to be a new feature or a new component development, in Figma, we have the design systems. So we have to constantly update those design systems with the requirements and the new elements that we are going to add. So that's like the main flow that we always follow at Ascentic when it comes to the project that I'm working on.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very deep and very inspiring. What are the major challenges you face as a UI or UX designer?
For me, with what I have gained so far, with the experience what I have gained, one key thing that I really believe is the challenge is like we always intend to skip the user research part. Like user research is like a key important thing. Without identifying the user's requirement, we really cannot come up with like out of nowhere, like come up with the product or anything. But with the time, with the budget allocation, with the cost, it's basically everyone wants to skip that part. Like with the time also, okay, we can skip the user research part and like digging with the requirements and start the visual design as well. So that's a challenge for us as in the designers. We always have to convince the stakeholder, no, this is really important. We have to get what exactly our users want. Identifying the end user is always important because in projects, our stakeholders are not going to be the end users. It's going to be a different set of users. So I personally believe that like the user research, getting user research involved in the project is really important. Apart from that, the other thing that I have I have like basically learned during my experience is like having the communication between the designer and the developer. So me as a designer, I can come up with this aesthetically pleasing calendar component or a design, like as an example, something. But like after doing the design, I can simply hand over to the development team. But then if they are having constraints and concerns with the technology that they are using or the framework that they are using, if they really cannot implement that specific design, then there's a problem basically. So we always have to have that communication, collaboration going on within the team. Like whatever I design, it's just going to be a simple quick call or message on Teams, or I can be Slack just to get clarified, okay, is this feasible from your end? Are there any constraints? If there are constraints, okay, we can revise the design, we can address it appropriately then, rather than waiting until the last, once you start pitching into the team and then that calendar control is not looking exactly as in the design what I've done, like conflicts always intend to happen. So I personally believe like these are like the two challenges that we basically face day to day. Apart from that, other one challenge is like along with the design and development bridging. Like we know way long time back before Adobe XD, Figma and Sketch came in, where we give the design to the designer, and then like as an example, you have the color shade blue, but the designer will basically use a different shade of blue. And then the comparison comes in. Okay, this is not the same exact blue that I have used in the design. Like those conflicts always happen. So to overcome those specific design tools, Figma now they support having the CSS styling parts available in the platform as well. Having that that relationship with the development team is really important. So that is one challenge we can easily overcome, but still it do happens. So yeah, those are the two things that I see as in challenges.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we'll go for a very short commercial break. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
As an undergraduate, the first place where you are going to work is really, really important because that's where you get exposed to the corporate world for the first time.
I love WSO2 because of the usage of middlewares and then the systems like open banking and identity servers. So I just love to learn a lot of experience and work on APIs and get my hands on that so that during my final it will be a really great help.
I was shocked. I was definitely shocked. I didn't expect to get in, and I was ecstatic.
I remember getting the call. They said I was accepted, and I was really happy. And yeah, it's a dream come true.
I was happy, and I really can't explain in words. To be honest, during this pandemic situation and all, to get an internship, it's really hard, and I really feel grateful to WSO2 to take me as an intern.
Amodara. I really enjoy working at 1 Billion Tech. It has taught me how to become a balanced individual.
Hi, I am Ahmed. I am a final year student of IIT. I joined as an intern and today I am an associate software engineer. 1 Billion Tech helped me to take off my career.
And we are back. Welcome back to the show, where we have Miss Shamali De Silva here with us, sharing her experience and views on UI/UX designing. Ma'am, do you think design thinking is the only solution to problems and innovations?
I would say design thinking is a method that everyone has been common use. It's not like exactly the only solution that we could find out. It always differs on the project, differs on the requirement, differs on so many other elements. You can't say, okay, following the design thinking process, the final output would be the exact same thing that we expect. But it is a well-practiced, well-known method that's been used by many larger known, well-known companies. But there are other methods as well apart from that. Like as an example, if you take from Google, you have the Google Design Sprint, where Google is following basically that. So it always differs and changes. We can always adapt it as per our requirements. Like as in what I said, the work process that we follow at Ascentic is somewhat similar to design thinking process, but it's been changed and adapted based on our requirements. Only solution basically, but I would say like there are other things also, other options also where we could try and see.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Now, how has design thinking affected your approach? Has a user-centric approach worked for you?
Yes, UCD approach has worked. Everything is involved within the UCD, the user-centric design. We always intend to get the feedback and then work around it. Apart from UCD, the other thing that's like commonly been on the discussion is the customer experience, the CX element. UI is for user interface, UX user experience, and then the customer's experience. Like as an example, if you take Daraz has it's a very well-known e-commerce platform where as in a customer, for me, you have the UI, the user interface is already there. Okay, we will be just logging into it, just go through the products that we displayed, and then we go out with, we select whatever the product that we want, and then we check out, the payment integration is done, everything is perfectly fine. But then think like if I'm at a meeting, basically having an important meeting with stakeholder, if the delivery partner starts constantly calling me asking for the directions, okay, I'm basically lost, I really can't find out, and then I would be like explaining him during excusing from the meeting, or I would be guiding them, then back again, if they're going in a wrong direction, the customer experience is not as satisfied as we expect. So the product that they deliver would be exactly same what has been displayed on the website, but the entire flow of experience is not very much happy to the customer. So we always have to I would say customer experience and the user-centric designs, it's also an iterative process. It's also joined together. So having that user-centered designs and then joining it with the customer experience will make that entire process streamlined, and it's going to be easy for the customers as well. We always have to think about the end user and then the customer's perspective as well.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. That was very insightful. Ma'am, have you come across any inherent weakness in this school of thought?
Yes, I would say the key thing is identifying the user group. User group identification is really important, no matter what which methodology or which process that we are using. If you are not identifying the user group at that exact moment, the final output is going to be totally not as we expect. So the perfect example that I could say is for like the Google Glasses, where Google is a well-known, well-established company, software company, where all the processes are being driven, fully process driven. But then they were unable to identify the user group that they are going to cater. So after putting quite a lot of effort, after time, money, commitment, everything is being added. Once the product was basically out, it was an ultimate disaster. They really didn't get the expected. Their expectations were not be able to meet from that product. So I just personally believe that identifying the user group, identify the end user is really important. The user segmentation is the key thing. Apart from that, like if we talk about the Google Glass, as it's a smart wearable, they didn't basically identify what exactly the user group that they want, because it's not an important product to each and everyone. Only a limited set of people are going to use it. The other example that I would say would be the Magic Mouse, where Apple has been introduced. As we all know, me using one itself, I know how much of a hassle. If the battery goes down on that mouse, we literally can't charge it while we are designing. Like we have been constantly, I mean, many of users have been constantly talking about it. Why like a company like Apple can't fix this minor thing? So that's the thing, like there are weaknesses, and the thing is that those companies also should need to be very much open about to learn from their mistakes and like to like overcome those constraints. So I believe like, yeah, there are weaknesses, but if we identify the user group and if we basically be open for the feedback what we are getting, we'll be able to overcome quite a lot of problems or disasters projects that we would like basically face.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned, and we'll be back before you know it.
Move forward faster. We help our clients advance to their optimal business state and achieve quick and continuous return on their investments. And we accomplish this through our digital transformation studio approach. Our approach leverages a unique combination of tools, assets, and people to drive over 30% efficiency and speed in delivering digital transformation.
I'm Odara. I really enjoy working at 1 Billion Tech. It has taught me how to become a balanced individual.
Hi, I am Ahmed. I am a final year student of IIT. I joined as an intern and today I am an associate software engineer. 1 Billion Tech helped me to take off my career.
We're back. Continuing from where we left off. Ma'am, as a lead, how do you oversee the smooth completion of a project? Are there any specific strategies you implement to make sure the different teams you oversee are working in tandem and are always in sync?
Yes, strategies in the sense we have our own flow, the way that we are working. So as I mentioned initially, it would be identifying the problem. So like in projects, there can be like different setup. Like you can be starting a project from the scratch itself. That could be one way, or it can be a full UI revamp, or it can be a feature addition. So you should need to initially identify what exactly that you are really going to do. So after that identification, we always need to, like as we have been mentioning, to go to the user research element, where we start to do the identify the users, creating user maps, and then the journeys, user journeys, and mainly creating the user personas. That's something that it is really important. And then the time frame and the whether it's going to be an MVP, like a minimum viable product. So we have to identify those aspects also. After identifying it, we have to break down into the task. We have to come up with a timeline. So basically those things always make sure like we are going to stick in the process that we are basically following. After those things are being defined, after those tasks are being defined, we have to basically identify the problem, and then we have to cater that problem. And then then the way that we are going to cater it can be like via the visual designing aspect, then starting on, depending on the scope, depending on the time frame that we have to start with the designing, visual designing aspect. And then the product journey, where the product is going to end within the given timeline. And the project user stories, we know like we have to come up with user stories, how the user is going to come up with these entire, like the interaction, how is it going to be like. So we have to then identify the user stories, and then we have to think about the user testing part. Accessibility is something that we really should need to consider when it comes to product designing. What kind of people who is going to access, are we addressing these accessibility issues, and so on. And then the cultural behavior, what is going to be the cultural aspect that's going to impact for the project or the product that we are going to work on. And after getting all this information, we have to go for a roughly how do you say, a time estimation, how many designers will be allocated for that project or the product that we are going to work on, because those are also constraints that purely based on the customer needs. Like if by chance it can be like one junior designer, and you should need to have a senior designer on it. It can be a junior designer and then along with another senior designer. So you should need to think on those things. And then that basically comes with the resource management part, where we have to manage the resources, manage the team and everything. Apart from that, then once everything is being on page, when everything is aligned, like in all the projects we have these design show and tell methods, where we do the design, we show it, and we get the feedback within the team, within the stakeholders, to check whether we are on the proper line. So that is also really important for us. So based on the experience what I have done, based on the projects what I have worked, so this entire process helps me to overlook in different elements. Like I know like, okay, this project is going to head this way because we have already taken the necessary actions. You get that overall picture of it, and with the collaboration happening between the teams and between different projects, basically helps to streamline things. And that syncing always happens when you have that broad idea or the perspective that you have. I think that basically helps us with where the entire project is going to be. So that's how basically we manage multiple products and the projects that we are handling.
Thank you, ma'am. That is very detailed and knowledgeable. Since becoming a lead, has it made your life any easier? Or has the responsibility of trying to design products within a stipulated time frame with the limited resources you have proved challenging?
I would say it's not easy. It comes up with quite a lot of responsibility. We have to manage our work, and then there are going to be designers that we have to mentor, and then we have to like have knowledge sharing sessions. We have to plan out KT sessions. Like we have to think about the resource allocation. We have to think about the management expectations, and then the like having those timelines. We have to have like design sync up meetings. Like I normally do have a design sync up meeting with my Swedish designers as well as with my designers that's at Ascentic as well. And then bi-weekly catch-up calls, and with the current situation of the country also, we always have to think about the mental health as my team members, as my fellow team members are looking good? Are they doing well? Is there any kind of concerns that they are facing? Like, it's always not about project related work. We always have to think about that perspective as well. And then we always, like in Ascentic, we always help them, like we mentor them to be the best version of them. We are not micromanaging any of the designers that we have. We basically help us to grow themselves. And apart from that, we have to think about the organization's growth as well. So that's also very important. And then the company branding aspects, I get the chance to work on those related areas as well. So I would say it's that responsibility comes up with quite so many things. Being a lead, everyone would think like, okay, this is like something that's very exciting, and yes, it is indeed, it's exciting, but there's quite a lot of responsibility that's on your shoulder. There are so many people looking after you. So you have to be that person who is being supportive, helping them out to be themselves. So yes, I personally believe it's challenging, interesting and challenging, and it's something that I personally do thoroughly enjoy. So yeah.
Thank you. Finally, what would you pass on to someone that is aspiring to go down the very same path that you have?
Yes, one key thing that I would like to say is, like, everyone has this, I would say they believe like creativity is something that's like inborn, like it has to be in your blood, or like it's something that you should need to come up with. Like, I think that it's a myth. I mean, people have been telling, if you are passionate about what you really want to pursue, there are so many resources available. You can just basically read them, follow them, and then learn, gain exposure in the areas that you really want to. So creativity is something that you can learn in the sense you can evolve. Like for me also, if I consider the design that I have done, like when I was starting my career, it's not that much great. I itself know it, but with the experience, with the things that I have learned, it has came into a level that we could be happy about ourselves. So I personally believe that creativity is something that you could mainly work on. You can refer to Medium articles, you can refer to theory. There are so many theory, you can learn them. There are many things that you could follow. Apart from that, now UI UX is a very broad career path. You should need to identify whether you are going to be a visual designer when it comes to user interface designing, or you are going to be user experience designer, or you are going to do user research, UX writing. You should need to identify which exactly the career path that you really want to go. If not, it's going to be kind of, you itself will get confused. Okay, which area should I need to move into, because it's that much broad. So if you have that understanding on the area that you really want to go ahead, then it's going to be something good for you also. When it comes to applying jobs also, it will make your life easier. And apart from that, the other thing that I would like to say is many believe that you should need to be very much good in English also. Whereas in those things, communication, speaking, those things can be like learned and improved during a course of time period. So for me, I would like to tell is like self-learning is one key important thing if you really want. Like self-learning is important to any field that you are going to do. So if you are passionate about it, and if you have to think, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to do this, then I think that's like the most key thing that you really want to have it on your thoughts, have it on your mind. Then you will be it's going to be in a good hands if you are passionate about what you exactly want to achieve.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very insightful and inspiring. That's it for the segment, viewers. We certainly hope you enjoyed this and were able to gain insight into the world and processes of UI or UX. Thank you to Ms. Shamali for being kind enough to agree to be on this show. And thank you for all the tuning in. Well, this might be the end of this show, but more ways to be brought to you by ITV. Stay tuned.
Building a digital product is complex, demanding, uncertain. And that's where we come in. We're a group of creative thinkers digital product specialists, dreamers, and team players. With over 15 years in the industry, 400 innovators, 50 awards, building over 150 digital products for our global customers. We engage in your awesome idea and help bring it to life. 99X, creating impactful digital products together.
Hi, I'm Odara. I really enjoy working at 1 Billion Tech. It has taught me how to become a balanced individual.
Hi, I'm Ahmed. I am a final year student of IIT. I joined as an intern and today I am an associate software engineer. 1 Billion Tech helped me to take off my career.
හරි මේක
හරි මිස් අයියෝ අපි කාඩ් ගන්නෙ නෑනේ කෑෂ් වලින් විතරයි ගන්නෙ
අයියෝ සල්ලි ගෙනාවේ නැහනේ thank you හරි මම ස්කෑන් කරනවා of course
thank you මම වගේ IP app එක දාගත්තා නම් ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ් ඇක්සෙප්ට් කරන්නත් පුළුවන් නේ තාම IP දාගත්තේ නැද්ද
ලංකාවේ වැඩිම දෙනෙක් භාවිතා කරන ෆයිනෑන්ස් ඇප් එක iPay.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk the guy, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock.
Yeah.
You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself
Standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you burn with the burn flame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile. You can walk straight through hell with a smile.
You could be the hero, you can get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke.
Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Are you ever gonna know if you never even try?
Do it for your country, do it for your name.
Cause there's gonna be a day when you're standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you burn with the burn flame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame.
Hello everyone, I'm Bhavagauri Panchacharasivam. I did my schooling in Colombo Hen Ladies College and then I joined IIT for my undergraduate studies on January 2022, and I'm studying software engineering degree program at IIT. And just a couple of days ago, I completed my level 4 at IIT. During this period of time, there were numerous opportunities provided by both IIT and its communities. For example, I volunteered for Cutting Edge event that is organized by IIT. During that volunteering period, I was able to get to know how to organize and manage an event properly and conduct it successfully. Also, it helped me to improve my soft skills and hard skills as well. Also, through these opportunities, I was able to acquire access to a variety of tasks and obtain the feasibility to create a network with a professional mind. Also, I was able to get some pleasurable and amusing experience from the fun events like hot dog show and some other club events that held during my first year at IIT. And also I'm looking forward for the Stagecraft and the career program, which will be organized by IIT. So the career program will be helping me to get an internship very quickly and easily, and it will be helping me to get to know how should I prepare myself to confront an interview during my internship program. So also I'm looking forward for other opportunities that IIT is going to provide me with in the future. And also I'm still in the process of making me a better me by acquiring the opportunities that IIT will be providing me in the future. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ranadi Kumarwadu, your host for today, and welcome to the panel discussion segment. So currency has been a hot topic in recent times, especially in Sri Lanka. And when we picture currencies, we picture ones that are tangible, pegged, and very much centralized. Yet the world of technology has given rise to a novel form of currency that is intangible, not pegged, and highly decentralized. So here to enlighten us about this particular form of currency and its potential to rise above a crisis is Mr. Dilshan Senaratne, the head of marketing for Sri Lanka and communication for Asia Pacific, Europe, and Middle East at a $2 billion tech blue chip headquartered in the US, and also the founder and former CEO of Cyanic Consulting. As well as we have Mr. Shamlin Soma Sundaram, the co-founder and chief executive officer at Niftron. So good morning to you both. And without further ado, let's get into the topic for today, rising above the crisis with cryptocurrency. So the first question I'd like to ask Mr. Dilshan, how would you define cryptocurrency and why is it different from any regular form of currency?
Straight into it, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ranadi. You guys can hear me well, right?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So there's a bunch of ways to answer that question, and I think Shamil will probably take another approach, but I'll take like a super simple approach, right? Defining what a currency is probably the first way to go about it. So fiat currency, or like traditional currency that we use, is largely a medium of exchange, which means that we can buy stuff with it. We can exchange it to buy things or services, right? And it's also a representation of value. So you can hold on to the money and it'll have value over time, as opposed to like a perishable good, right? So fiat currencies are also government backed, the way that we are, the iteration that we're looking at right now. And there is a potential for infinite supply because central banks can keep printing the money. And that is an issue we're starting to see across the world, especially with the US, because the US has a reserve currency or a currency that is a kind of accepted across the world. And we are also seeing it in Sri Lanka now with the central bank printing so much of money and inflation going up, right? So cryptocurrency is different in the sense that it's not government backed, it's system backed. So there is blockchain technology that is backing the supply of currency, and there is a very hard cap on how much circulating supply can exist. And also, by virtue of that technology not allowing you to print money or increase the supply whenever you want, it doesn't go through the same kind of debasement or devaluation that we are seeing the rupee go through, or even like the Zimbabwe dollar go through right now, right? So as we talk now, I think the US has printed 20% of its circulating supply of US dollars in 2020, just to kind of invigorate the economy post-COVID. The Sri Lankan context is very similar. So in a very short and simple way of understanding how cryptocurrency is different, it will be a counter to a lot of the issues that we're having in terms of retaining value within a currency, and also not causing global recessions and global inflation the way the US is probably contributing to right now, or even Russia is probably contributing right now.
Thank you, Mr. Dilshan. That was a very in-depth definition of cryptocurrency. So, Mr. Shyamilan, what do you think about cryptocurrency, and how is cryptocurrency valued, and how does it gain value in your perspective?
Yeah, so it's similar to, any of the assets that we have, like whether it has the currencies or anything, like even the gold or anything. So it's kind of similar way that the crypto works. It's basically the demand and the supply. So initially, when you create cryptos, most of the times, like it starts with very base values. So sometimes like starting something like 0 point, something like that. And then throughout the process, it gains the value. And also like similar, like, any other currencies or the assets, at some points it will be goes high and sometimes it will becomes low. And it's basically the fluctuation. So it's simple. It's not like something rocket science. So it's simple as like when you have a lot of supply and you don't have that much demand, and definitely the prices will be goes down. And vice versa, like when you have a lot of demand, but you don't have that much supply, then obviously the prices will go up. So better example is maybe taking the current scenario, how the fuel works. So we have a lot of demand, but we don't have that much supply. So when you go to the black market, it's rising up, but it's not the same scenario before. So it's kind of similar like that. That's how the valuation goes up and down. And it depends on a lot of aspects these days. So it's not something that deal with currencies. Sometimes some founders put a tweet or else sometimes like even Elon Musk, people put tweets, and some people take that as a kind of an input to make their tradings or make their purchases and all. And that manipulates a lot in the market. But if you take a normal perspective, it's completely on supply and demand. And that's one of the best cases, like why Bitcoins and cryptos kind of standing still now, because they have it's a regulated, but it's not something that owned by or controlled by a person, but it's always in the system. And it's released the coins based on the timeline it's mentioned or based on the task that you had to perform. And it comes throughout the period, and everyone knows that there's a limit and it will be going to end at one point.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Shyamilan. So, Mr. Dilshan, in recent times, countries such as India, China, Russia, and even Turkey have resorted to completely restricting the usage of cryptocurrencies and pushing for their complete ban. So how severe of an impact would this be in the crypto market?
From a short-term price action point of view, it's probably very severe. Every time China announces or Russia announces that they're considering a ban, the prices dip, right? But that's because a lot of what we're doing with cryptocurrencies at this point in time is restricted to speculative investing. But the point of cryptocurrencies, and also differentiation between cryptocurrencies and crypto assets, these things are not meant to just be speculative investment tools. They have underlying utility. There's a whole bunch of other things that they're trying to achieve, right? So in the short term, yeah, it'll impact prices. Maybe a few of them will not exist if they're recognized as securities and then regulated. But on the longer term, the first point of decentralization is that no centralized authority should be able to impact it, right? Like ban it, regulate it, whatever. But also on the other hand, for cryptocurrencies to be used, especially in the context of payments and remittances, there needs to be some form of regulation so that it doesn't become a safe haven for crime or, some kind of illicit activity, right? So there's two sides to it. And I think we are also going to see kind of like a meet in the middle situation with, because fiat is evolving. 10 years ago, we were using notes and coins. Now I don't see any coins at all. And most of the transactions that I do, even in Sri Lanka, but if you go to India is almost 80-90% driven on digital transactions, and money has changed in that sense. And that had nothing to do with crypto, right? But crypto itself has changed. When Bitcoin came out in 2008 or 2009, the logic that it applied does not apply to assets like XRP, which is trying to replace SWIFT as a banking protocol. So both these things are evolving, and there will be a meet in the middle where there will be like a decentralized, maybe digital rupee or a digital US dollar for sure, because I know that's happening right now. And we have stable coins. So yeah, there'll be severe changes and regulation, but one won't cause the extinction of the other anytime soon.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Dilshan, for that insightful take. So before we go into this discussion further, let's go for a short commercial break.
Building a digital product is complex, demanding, uncertain. And that's where we come in. We're a group of creative thinkers, digital product specialists, dreamers, and team players. With over 15 years in the industry, 400 innovators, 50 awards, building over 150 digital products for our global customers. We engage in your awesome idea and help bring it to life. 99X, creating impactful digital products together.
Welcome back, viewers. Today we are discussing the topic Rising Above the Crisis with Cryptocurrency with our two expert panelists, Mr. Dilshan Senaratne and Mr. Shyamalan Somasundaram. Continuing our discussion further, Mr. Shyamalan, cryptocurrencies are notorious for their heavy instability as a currency. Is it advisable for a regular person to invest their entire life savings in crypto? And if not, what are the other alternatives they could consider?
Sure. And I just add a couple of points to the last questions you asked to Dilshan. I think he mentioned clearly. But I was seeing this, especially on the China, right? So if you go back to the history and if you see, like every year, you can directly say like at least once in for 6 months, they'll come and say that they're putting a ban. And then when the prices are down specifically, and then after that, they'll come and say that they're lifting the ban. And this happens all the time. So I think the first time or maybe second time, the people take it more serious. But after that, they know that this is kind of the politics agenda. So because every country, they have their agendas behind what they're telling it out. So mostly like China, India, if you see like they're putting the bans, lifting the bans, but behind the scenes, they won't have their own currencies because end of the day, they won't have the control. Because once you come to crypto, it gives you that ultimate freedom for the people that they can own their money, whatever they're earning, and they don't need to depend on banks. Then the government's not able to trace how much money these people are getting it. Very, very difficult to put the taxations and all. So a lot of difficulties they have, so they can't able to, I mean, as a government or the management side, they want to basically control what's happening in the country, but that is very difficult for them. And that is one of the reasons they put these bans and all. But later they understand that whatever the bans they put, they can't stop cryptos by letting the people to use it, because everywhere, every country that has put the bans on crypto, where the people are using it, because it's cryptography and it's anonymized and you can't identify who is that unless you trace on maybe on the IP addresses and different things to find it out. But in the general cases, it's very difficult to identify. And it's something I would say, like, I mean, putting the bans, different countries, maybe US or UK, even they put the bans, but then they regulate it with the taxations. So you can use cryptos, but when you're converting it, you have to pay the taxes. And it works some sort of a level, it works for them. And I think that is the better approach for the countries to follow, because as much as you stop and putting the bans and not letting the people to use it, on the other side, that many number of people will start to use it, because that's how the way it worked in the past, and that's how it will work in the future as well. So I don't think it will be a major impact. So it's something that let the people to know more about crypto every time these guys put the ban, and that will be basically boosting it. And if you don't mind, can you repeat the question? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Mr. Shyamalan. So the question was, cryptocurrencies are notorious for their heavy instability as a currency. Do you think it's advisable for a regular person to invest their entire life savings into crypto? And if not, what other alternatives are there for investments?
So personally, I never ask anyone to invest on crypto or anything like that, because it's their own money and they have to make the decision to invest or not. And most of the times people ask like which coin to invest or not. But I mean, I can make the decisions, and sometimes it may goes well, it may goes wrong. And in cryptos, like I would advise like don't put everything on that. So it's like you're putting all the balls into the one basket, all the eggs into the one basket. So it's definitely, whether in crypto, whether in share market or whatever, it's basically the bad decision that you can take. But you can put something on cryptos, but you have to basically understand and you have to have the patience how the market works. So you can't just blindly go and throw some money into the cryptos, maybe it on high and think that it will be go high, but then after 2-3 months it will comes to the dip. Maybe you lose like $3,000, $4,000. But then most of the people do it is they get fear and they'll be sell the coins at a loss, and then they'll come and say like cryptos are scam and we are losing the monies and all. But then if they wait for another maybe 6 months or 12 months, definitely it is going to go up. So maybe one of the best charts you can find it in online is every day crypto is fluctuating, but every month you can see like there are some ups, some down. But if you see the last decade, it always going up. So it's never comes down. So it's always increasing comparing to how it was in, especially on Bitcoins in 2010, 11, and how Ethereum in 2015, 16. So it always goes up. So the advice I would say is you can invest on whatever the coins, but you have to do a proper research, because obviously it's something that people can make a lot of money, means they can lose a lot of money as well. So there are a lot of scams. There are a lot of projects which comes and just like rug pulling. So there are a lot of things that there are, but you have some strategies that you have to do a bit of research on the projects who are behind it and how the community works and how they are progressing. So you have to understand these before you invest it. And I would say like maybe if you're going to invest on top 3 or 5 coins in the coin market cap or any listings, maybe that would be the most stable ones at the moment. So you can maybe go and invest it. But one thing is, if you invest it, just keep in mind that you lost that money and you don't have that money for a while. At least be patient, whether it's going down or up, be patient for a while. And then you know like how the market works. And once you understand it, you can do proper tradings. And if you are a starting person, maybe it will take a lot of time to learn tradings if you're doing it, but maybe holding is the easiest options. You can buy at the dip and you can maybe sell at the high point.
Thank you, Mr. Shyamalan, for that advice on investments. So back to you, Mr. Dilshan. If people begin readily using cryptocurrencies as their default currency, how would it affect the regulated currencies?
I mean, it'll stop being useful, right, to have regulated currencies, because they're government backed. You can't predict how much of circulating supply is going to exist. And as we are learning right now, it's such a good time to have discuss this topic as well, because of what's going on right now. Everything that's happening right now is because we printed money. And everything that's happening globally is because the US printed money. It's very different for the US to print money because they are reserve currency, and it's very different for us to print money because the impact is just felt by us. But when the US does it, the impact is felt across a lot of geopolitical regions. But it's an interesting time definitely to answer this question. But I don't see a lot of the crypto assets that we're talking about right now being readily used as payment mechanisms, except for maybe the stable coins, right? Because you possibly can't use Bitcoin for day-to-day purchases. You're buying bread today, and then this thing takes a 20% hike tomorrow, you're paying less. It dips 40%, you're paying more. So it's very difficult to have stability in that sense, right? But something like USDC or USDT, yeah, sure. But the problem is that is going to be that's going to be pegged to the dollar, and that doesn't really serve a purpose. So I think the way we are going to see this happen is we're probably going to see centralized banking digital currencies, which are a form of cryptocurrencies like XRP and a couple of others. They will start being useful for cross-border payments because they take away the cost of trust from institutions and puts it on an algorithmically backed system, which just eliminates a whole bunch of banks in the middle. So if I'm trying to send money to somebody abroad, there's a local bank, there's a regional bank, there's a clearinghouse, there's another regional bank, then there's the local bank of the person I'm trying to send it to. And what a CBDC will do is it will just eliminate that entire value chain and make it me versus the person I'm trying to pay. And the system will take care of the rest through the network, right? So that takes out a big part of the inefficiency. It takes out a big part of the cost. That's probably the first version of what we're going to see from a crypto adoption point of view. But having said that, there are some countries, I think 2 or 3 at this point, that have made Bitcoin legal tender. So you never know how it will play out. But stability is important for payments and remittances. But as far as crypto assets go, I think there's crazy potential for adoption as we go along, and we'll see that in the next few years.
Thank you, Mr. Dilshan. So as Mr. Dilshan mentioned, we have a long way to go before we can buy bread from Bitcoin. What else could crypto be employed with, Mr. Shyamalan? And what do you see in the near future other than trading?
Definitely, we can buy bread with the Bitcoin. So it will be like the famous thing, a person bought pizza with Bitcoins. So they spend like, I think 12,000 something Bitcoins for a pizza. So I mean, if they had that, maybe he can buy all Pizza Hut, the whole Pizza Hut shareholders and shares for that amount. So I mean, as you mentioned, like, I mean, it's how I see it is, it's like some chains, and what best part I see it in the crypto is it's evolved so fast compared to any other technologies in the past. And because it's community driven and no one is controlling it, and you don't need to like get approval by putting a white paper or research articles and getting it approved, your research is perfect or something, like how algorithms or machine learning works. But here it's pretty straightforward. Anyone can get into blockchain, join with the community, you can build a project, you can put it out. And if it is something that valuable, people can see it, they'll be just investing on that or buying the coins, or maybe it's NFT or whatever the things. And also, like, because it's a hype, there are a lot of investment opportunities and things are there. So it's the way that crypto evolves. And the other side is, as he mentioned, like buying bread or the day-to-day things using Bitcoin, it's not the right choice. But there are other coins like similar, like the layer 2 solutions, or maybe the stable coins. So even I mostly work with Stellar blockchain as well. So where I like is because it's a bit of different than how Bitcoin works or Ethereum works, but the purpose is basically on microtransactions. So you can do 400,000 transactions per dollar, which maybe in Ethereum you can do not even one transaction. So it's like you have a pen and pencil, but it's up to you to choose which one to draw a painting. So you can draw with a pen, and maybe you can draw again and again if you make mistakes. But if you take a pencil, you can easily draw it. So you have the tool, both will work for same, but it's up to you to decide like how you're going to use it. And I had experience of using first time buying things using crypto once I went to Singapore. So one of the conferences where they have these vending machines where you can purchase anything using a crypto card. and you can just put the card and you can take this. And it's one side is it's about the liquidity that I have on the money and I don't need to pay or go through my banking gateways and getting it. But the most important thing that I understand is it's something that you keep your anonymity of the data. So if I purchase something in a supermarket using my card, the supermarket knows my bank card details, which bank I'm using, and my bank knows like what products I'm purchasing, where I'm at that time, and everything they knows. But if I'm using crypto cards and purchasing something, it's basically, if you see the crypto publicly, like it's not something as a human, not readable, like it's just a bunch of numbers and letters. So it will be like no identity attached. So it's like random numbers of letters pushed can cock. So it doesn't matter like whether it's a male or a female, you can identify whether it's a Sri Lankan or a US person. So that's one of the privacy that you get by using these things maybe on a day-to-day. And as he mentioned, like some of the countries were adapted, but we don't know whether it will be succeed or not, because crypto is just, it's like a baby, right? It's just like 10 years old. So there's a long way to go. And I don't think like maybe in another 5 to 6 years, major countries will adapt completely on cryptos. Maybe they will be definitely use CDBC, because if they don't use, people will definitely stop using that currency and moving to the cryptos, but they'll be just push that and tell the people to use that one. But majorly adapting, maybe small countries can do, but larger countries, it will be basically as a side option that they can let the people to use both. Because if they lose, their currency values, so it will basically impact on the countries. Yeah, and can you please repeat the question? Yeah.
Sure. The question was if people readily begin to use cryptocurrencies as their default currency, how would it affect regulated currencies?
I think the next question, right? Is it the one we answered? Sorry.
So besides trading, where else can crypto be employed?
So trading is main, it's like any currency that you have, the main purpose is you can do the tradings. But every crypto coin, if you take, it's attached with one of the value generated projects. So Bitcoin is completely made out of for the payment. So you can take it out because it's only for the major cross-border transaction payments, which you do large amount of monies, which you can do it easily with anonymized. But if you take other things, like if you take Ethereum, the value of Ethereum goes up or down based on the market. The other side is tied with the projects. So whenever you are creating a dApp, so the decentralized applications, or deploying a smart contract, you have to pay using this particular coin. So without paying using Ethereum, you can't do that. So that's how the value generation happens. And similar like that, any projects that, any coins that get succeed, they should have a proper utility mechanism, which will be tied up with the proper project where people can either buy something, or they can own something, or they can use something. So that's how the value creation happens. So in some cases, maybe you can see like NFT projects comes along with their own coins where people can use that coins to buy NFTs. They can stake and earn rewards and all those things. In the other side, you can see some data applications or supply chain scenarios where people can put their money and adding the data onto that. And some applications like Ethereum where you can deploy applications. So they have different use cases. And that's how the main purpose of these coins comes. Trading is, I would say, it's the secondary option, but obviously wherever you can make money, people focus on that more. But that is the secondary option, like any currency that is out there. But the major thing is the projects that are behind that.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Shyamalan, for that insightful take. So before we continue our discussion on cryptocurrencies any further, let's go for another short commercial break.
Building a digital product is complex, demanding, uncertain. And that's where we come in. We're a group of creative thinkers, digital product specialists, dreamers, and team players. With over 15 years in the industry, 400 innovators, 50 awards, building over 150 digital products for our global customers. We engage in your awesome idea and help bring it to life. 99X, creating impactful digital products together.
Welcome back, viewers. Today we are discussing the topic Rising Above the Crisis with Cryptocurrency with our two expert panelists, Mr. Dilshan Senaratna and Mr. Sharmilan Somasundaran. So continuing our discussion further, our final question for today is for Mr. Dilshan, which is what are your thoughts on the cryptocurrency dip? All major cryptocurrencies have been dealt with a major blow owing to the rampant inflation on the global economy. And what would you make of this?
Yeah, I think we should ask one more question also. I think we should ask about how Sri Lanka should be using blockchain tech to come out of where we are, right? It's a crazy opportunity. So maybe we'll do that next. But in terms of the price action, I like Shamlin said, the trading is so secondary. It's probably not even very important. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people betting money on it. There's some level of smart money. There's people like Michael Saylor and maybe even Elon Musk who's using it very smartly to supplement their cash flows. But there's also a whole bunch of others who are just, gambling with it, right? And as we know from the US economy and like the way securities are traded and what happened in 2008, people will bet on anything when the economy is set up that way, and there's no contraction and there's a surplus of the velocity of the money is high, people will bet on anything. And betting on cryptocurrencies has largely taken the attention away from some of the underlying important aspects of it. Not that I think it's a bad thing. There's a lot of money being made. There's a lot of money being sent into that space. But there are so many amazing projects. There's even something like Brave. There's a browser that lets you decentralize completely and keep your data private, monetize it. You monetize your individual data if you want to. There's microtransactions, there's securities, there are DeFi protocols, decentralizing financing, and probably Shamil can add to this, but like NFTs and digital assets are crazy, right? The potential we have for, unfortunately right now it's just pictures of monkeys, but the future of it is even something like your deed, like the deed to your house could be an NFT. The metaverse aspects of it, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening underneath that is not getting due attention because of the trading aspect and how focused everybody is on what the price of Bitcoin is. But on a long enough term, the volatility will reduce with more money coming into the space. And what should take center stage is the utility value that's underlying the technology and Web 3.0 and what is going on with blockchain. So yeah, that's where I think we should head, not really be focused on the price action.
Right. Thank you, Mr.
I think just one more thing to add on the NFT side. I think most of the people would be interested on NFT as well after the hypes and all. Like as you mentioned, like most of the times I also don't understand like how the value comes for these NFTs, like these monkeys. So once the monkeys comes, like you can see all these different images comes, and even I saw one of the NFTs where the toilet sheets. So they made toilet sheets as NFTs, and some person sold like 100K or 200K worth of dollars for his own selfies, which he took for like 1 year or 2 years time. So the thing is, what we have to do, it is one side is a hype, and obviously I don't agree on these projects. You have to do all these projects something that you have to focus on, because most of the times if you go behind and do a bit of research, you can understand that it's not the actual value that the community is creating or something, and it's more like a speculation one, where these NFTs were bought by like 1 billion, 2 billion. It just to hype that things up. And then if you see that tradings after that, it's never going to sell again for a 3 million or 4 million. So if it is actually a valuable one, it should increase the price and it should goes up and up, or at least something should goes up, or maybe the similar value should be traded. But if you see any of the NFT images that were bought, unless if they have like a potential value where they give some special privilege access for some persons or something like that, maybe will work. But just the images, that it's basically a thing that you should not focus and don't take your attention on that. But as he mentioned, there are a lot of potential on tokenizations. So we were like, when we started Nifton also, we like completely focused on tokenization, but at that time people don't know NFTs and things, and I mean it's very difficult for to explain it and all, like how these assets works and all. But now it's one way is good that maybe these images went hype and people are getting awareness about this. So there are true potential on a lot of other things, especially on documents. So we work with IIT and a couple of universities even for issuing tokenized NFT certificates for their events. And there's a supply chain total supply chain profile we are tracing and tracking with tokenization. So there are a lot of potential on that. You can do, I mean, it's basically you can tokenize, in my terms, anything that is valuable and meaningful to you. It's better to tokenize it and you can share with other people, or at least to preserve it from your side. And later on you can trade it or you can share with other person. So that is the true potential, and anything you feel it's valuable, you can liquidate it and you can take it. And now more play to earn models are coming, and there's no more fractionized real estate things are coming. So there are a lot of potential on that. And what happens is it's same as like how trading and money, people focusing on more than the underlying projects behind the cryptos. Similar like that, people focusing more on the NFT artworks than focusing more on what is the true potential of tokenization. And once they get it, they'll be focused on the right track. And as I told, like it's still young. So there are a lot of things to happens and a lot of things will change, because crypto is very fast moving. So even if you see like 2-3 years before, there's no tokenization. So 2017, there are some CryptoKitties and all, but after that it was silent, and suddenly 2020-21, it get boom. So it's always move fast, and it's really difficult, even for me, and maybe same for the region. Like I mean, adapting to these things. Like I mean, you get a lot of researchers comes and a lot of things comes. So it's fast moving, but and it's a lot of distractions and a lot of things that you should not focus. But that's where the majority of the market goes behind. So you can't do anything.
Right. So Mr. Shyamalan and Mr. Dilshan, what do you think crypto has in store for Sri Lanka? Do you think it would have a positive influence on our economy?
I'll let Shyamalan answer it first, and then I'll follow, because he's actively working in the space.
Right.
Not much knowledge on the finance side, but as much as. So the thing is, like, obviously at this situation, it will definitely affect on the positive side rather than the negative side, because I mean, we don't have that much potential at this moment with our rupees. So we have to do a lot of things to take it up. So it's like either you can put a lot of efforts to build something from the scratch, or else something that exists there where you can easily get in, where a lot of people are using it in Sri Lanka. As far as I know, like there are a lot of people who are using cryptos, day-to-day transactions, their business transactions, a lot of things were happening there. So even central bank knows, and a lot of things, and even I think recently they put a ban on some crypto things related as, I mean, still I would say Sri Lanka banned crypto, and there's no rules or anything that's written that crypto is banned, or if you use it, it's completely illegal. But what they sell it is more like a gray side. There's no rules, but it's like a risk scenario they potentially put it as. So it's your own risk to use it, because you maybe get lost, I mean, lose some of the money, or with something can happen because if you go into the scam side. But there's no like illegal, or there's no regulated ways that Sri Lanka has put it. But I would say my take point is, it's not now, maybe Sri Lanka should have done it before itself to take the crypto inside, because the major issue we have it is we don't have inflow money. So we need to take the money inflow coming, and if you depend on US dollars and all, obviously the people knows that if they're taking the dollars, they have to go through a lot of restrictions. And even if you're taking dollars out from Sri Lanka, you have to go through a lot of restrictions. You can't pay more than 50,000 per month from some of the cards. So you have a lot of restrictions. So what people will do it, obviously, they'll be moved to something that they can use it easily. And whether it's government putting regulations or whatever, people already adapted to something. And maybe not majority, but a lot of people are adapted, and a lot of companies, a lot of things are moving on the other side. So it's, I would say, like, maybe it's better than nothing. So it's the time that Sri Lanka can adapt cryptos, which will definitely impact on positive, where a lot of monies will come, a lot of investments, a lot of like, I mean, news will come out of Sri Lanka, like they adapted on cryptos, where it will attract a lot of foreign investments and foreign tourists to come in Sri Lanka. And definitely it will be impact on the positive side, where anything that takes money inflow into Sri Lanka at this moment, it will be the best thing that we can do. And I would say, like, crypto is the better thing. Maybe they can take some time to allow it as a regulated currency where we can use it for different things and all. But obviously, we are using it now. Like, I mean, you can go to Kapruka or a lot of other places where you can buy things using crypto. And I know like there are a lot of apartments you're selling for cryptos. You can down payments using cryptos. And if you go to down south, a lot of restaurants, like from beer to staying at a hotel, you can pay using crypto. So it's adapted there. But the thing is, a lot of people don't know that. And I would say like maybe government don't understand the full potential of it. Maybe they had to look beyond what they did in the traditional and what other countries are doing in traditional, but maybe they can take example of Estonia, which is kind of similar to Sri Lanka in terms of the amount of people and maybe lesser than Sri Lanka and the amount of resources we have. So they were like completely on cryptos, completely on blockchain. The countries, I mean, more than crypto, they are adapted completely on blockchain. So that's how they built their economy, and the country is coming one of the most intelligent countries so far in the world, where they're using everything on paperless. So it's basically e-Estonia. So everything is electronic Estonia. So something like that Sri Lanka can adapt. And I mean, I don't see anything as a negative. I mean, other than that, maybe if they focus on more taxations and all, obviously, when we don't have money, that no one is going to pay the tax, and they'll be definitely go for something else. So you can look into that and let the people to adapt it, and then maybe you can come and put the regulations. So which what US did, UK did. So let the people use, and then you know like how to put the regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Shyamalan. Would you like to add on to that, Mr. Dil?
Yeah, and it's funny that he brought up Estonia. So I was in Estonia in 2018. And they were saying that there's only 3 things you can't do digitally in Estonia: get married, get divorced, and sell a house. Everything else can be done digitally, right? It's a crazy economy. 1.3 million people, $40,000 per capita. That's like more than 10x our per capita. Just on digital adoption, because they lost, I think, a lot of their records after the Russian occupation left. And they just started from scratch and just skybolted, right? Like crazy success story. And we are definitely late, I think, in adopting, but we should now, because we've come up with this crisis. I think there is a big opportunity for a blockchain proficient workforce. We have a thriving tech economy here, right? Like you guys put out a big batch of software engineers. There should be blockchain education, because I think LinkedIn is predicting that in 2025, blockchain will be the most demanded job area for tech talent. So there's that we should probably work on. Then there's NFTs and digital assets, even in the context of enterprise use, like Shyamalan is working on, and for connected government, for tokenization of public sector things like deeds and certificates and all of that, right? Potentially even setting up crypto exchanges here, so that there's foreign investment that comes in, because a lot of the money doesn't flow in because there are no safe havens for crypto, and we could potentially be the next Singapore. What Singapore did for fiat fintech could probably be what we do for crypto. We should also start deploying blockchain tech for enterprise use cases. There's logistics applications, there's retail applications, there's supply chain stuff that can happen, that is already happening in the developed world that we could work on. Banks should be offering crypto related investment instruments. There should be funds, there should be money, there should be crypto market funds, and potentially also start using crypto for cross-border remittances, right? Because I think it's already happening informally. If we start regulating that and kind of accepting that into the banks, we'll start seeing a lot more of the dollar inflow coming in, and it'll solve a lot of the short-term issues that we're looking at right now. So crazy opportunity, and I think there's a lot of people working on really interesting things, like Shyamalan and a whole bunch of others here in the blockchain space. It's up to the government and regulations to ensure that, you know, these guys don't go off and set up in Dubai and Portugal and Delaware and continue to stay here, right? Because if we don't facilitate the infrastructure, next year when we have this panel, Shyamalan might not be here, because it makes
you are revealing some of
sense.
our some of our strategy plans.
Of course, no, but I think we need to capture some of that talent and make sure they stay here and incentivize being successful here, right? So yeah, that's the task for the government for sure.
I think it's the mindset that they need to change. So I mean, I always tell, like, even when I train someone on blockchain or in our companies, or maybe doing some courses or doing trainings for the enterprises, it's blockchain is, I would say, it's a mindset. So it's more than the technology. You had to have the mindset, because it's not like how AI works or how cloud computing works, but you need to understand the decentralization. You need to understand the importance of trust, privacy, how it benefit in your ownership, security. So it's a bunch of things comes together, and you need to know multiple things. So that is one of the reasons that people say like the learning of crypto or the blockchain, specifically on the technology, if you're using it, it's a bit higher than the other things, because you don't have not that much of resources. Now we have something, but when we started in 2015, 16, we don't have that much of resources, and learning curve is pretty high. But the reason is, once you understand that mindset, the way you see your perspective will be changed on every aspect that you're seeing, whether it's finance or whether it's healthcare or different things. You'll be start to see things in more decentralized and more open, more freedom, more trust on the things, and you give ownership to the users rather than you hold the data. And most of the times the business is no need to hold the data, right? So you can give it to the users, and whenever you want, you can basically access it. So it's something that how Estonia do it as well. So they have everything's connected, and they're accessing at any point that the hospital wants. They can connect to the insurance company, and the insurance wants, they can connect to the hospital to access the data. They don't need you to physically go and give it, and they just need your permission to access it. And that will be basically the true data comes from there. So you can do a lot with that. And the other side is, I mean, a lot of people came to Sri Lanka, like the special person is, I would say, like Nick Spanos. So maybe Dilshan would know that he is one of the influencers in the Bitcoin early stage New York Bitcoin P2P trading. So he came to Sri Lanka and he did one workshop for 2 days to the government officials. And one of the things he came back and we did a meetup with him, and he told is, I mean, it's a mindset that because he went to multiple countries and shifted those countries, adapted to cryptos, but it's like it's a mindset. And the other thing is the risk-taking ability of the people who are in the high officials to take that risk and putting that crypto adapted and moving towards. And I don't think like how long we can play this surviving game. So it's like you can continuously survive. So you'll have come to one point that either you die or you have to do something. So without playing that game, like you can, I mean, no point looking like how similar countries like Sri Lanka work. So maybe countries below Sri Lanka, how it comes up, but look for something beyond, like Estonia kind of a scenarios, which started from zero. So they don't have anything like even what we have, they don't have it. So they started from that, but we have a lot of talents, a lot of potential. But if we continuously play survival game, as he mentioned, like most of the people will goes out, and that's how, because we don't want to play the survival game. So we had to go out and we had to play our own game. So if we stay, a lot of talents will stay, and the mindset will come as you have to survive today and then you have to survive tomorrow. So it won't be the right place for creativity, right place for innovations, and also people will obviously move out. So I mean, it's up to the governments, obviously, because we also tried a lot of times, but then we fed up with that. So I mean, you have to push it at some point. Things may be changed, but it's end of the day, it's their call. So until that, we can do whatever we do as P2P tradings. There are a lot of things, and as you mentioned, like currently the P2P per USDT is going on 380. But if Sri Lankan one of the banks put it as we'll accept USDT for 381, obviously everyone is going to give it to the banks, and they can do maybe trading, so they can manage it in a different ways and they can make money. So, and they can invest on different things. They can keep it in a different way than they keep it on, or depending on the US dollars. So there are a lot of ways, but I mean, it's something that need to come from the upside. And if we do it in the level that we are doing, so it's happening already. So as I mentioned, like it's not something that is not happening, it's happening there, but adoption or the major bootstrapping need to come from the high levels.
Right, thank you, Mr. Shyamalan. So I'm afraid that's all the time we have. So thank you very much, Mr. Dilshan and Mr. Shyamalan, for being kind enough to take part in this panel discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed this discourse, and surely the folks watching this did too. I surely do hope that you may join us again in another panel discussion. So viewers, we've come to the end of another great session. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more items brought to you by the ITV.
Airdrop incoming. Airdrop has been delivered. Dog tags have been scanned successfully. Your teammate will return to the battle when the next revive flight arrives. The revive flight will arrive in 1 minute. Airdrop incoming. Airdrop has been delivered. successfully. Your teammate will return to the battle when the next revive flight arrives. Airdrop has been delivered. Flight will arrive in 1 minute. Chip terminal is almost ready. The safe zone is collapsing.
Engaging the enemies. Enemy eliminated.
Airdrop has been delivered. The last revive flight will arrive in 1 minute. Skill chip.
the greatest, you can be the best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk to God, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock. You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you gon' find yourself
standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you burn with the first flame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile. You can walk straight through hell with a smile.
You could be the hero, you can get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke.
Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. Are you ever gonna know if you never even try?
Do it for your country, do it for your name.
Cause there's gonna be a day when you're standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you burn with the first flame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame.
Speed is the new currency of business. In the new digital economy, effective competition requires a balanced approach to deep digital transformation that drives direct business value. By combining frictionless technology delivery with deep industry expertise, Virtusa helps business move forward faster. We help our clients advance to their optimal business state and achieve quick and continuous return on their investments. And we accomplish this through our digital transformation studio approach. Our approach leverages a unique combination of tools, assets, and people to drive over 30% efficiency and speed in delivering digital transformation.
தருணம் மாறுயிரே பார்த்ததாரும் இல்லையே உளரும் காலை பொழுதை முழுமதியும் பிரிந்து போவதில்லையே நேற்று வரை நேரம் போகவில்லையே உனதருகே நேரம் போதவில்லையே எதுவும் பேசவில்லையே இன்று ஏனோ எதுவும் தோன்றவில்லையே இது எதுவோ இரவும் விடியவில்லையே அது விடிந்தால் பகலும் முடியவில்லையே பூந்தளிரே தானதோம் தனன தானதோம் தனன தானதோம் தனன தானானே தகுணன தானதோம் தனன தானதோம் தனன தானதோம் தனன தானான தகுணன
I am Venoli Gamage, a student of IIT. This is about product ASIPS, the automated system for identifying parser stuff from parser candidates. You might not have heard about parser stars, but these are special cosmic objects that scientists are very interested in because these rare cosmic objects have special characteristics that reveals mysteries of the universe. So there are huge telescope projects conducting to find parser stars. Collected data through these telescopes are currently classifying using machine learning methods beyond the manual method. But with the exponential data growth, classification needed to be done in real time while data being streamed. But there are a lot of other challenges when it comes to stream classification. Should adapt to environmental changes and learn incrementally from new data while not getting harmed by the imbalanced nature of data, and should be fast and accurate as batch-based machine learning methods. So this is ASIPS that address all these challenges. This is the high-level view. It classifies data from data streams, and most importantly, it will learn incrementally from user verifications. This is the magic behind ASIPS, the Gaussian-Hellinger Extremely Fast Decision Tree, a novel algorithm for imbalanced data streams that address all above-mentioned challenges. Apart from the features of the algorithm, ASIPS provide accuracy visualizations, testing with other algorithms as well. Main beneficiaries from ASIPS are institutions that conduct telescope projects, observational astronomers, researchers who does astronomy and data science research. So thank you for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Roshita Shankar Hunheva. I'm a final year student at IIT, and this is a product based on my research project carried on for my final year. So it's called DGA CAPS for short. What it basically do is it detects and classifies malicious web domains that are created using domain generation algorithms. So I'll give you a short introduction to what algorithmically created web domains are. So those are basically malicious web domains that are created by attackers to keep their command and control servers alive. So that is the servers the servers that they use to communicate with the malware that's hosted on the victim's PC and the attackers themselves. So what my project is based on is trying to detect such malicious web domains and classify them using state-of-the-art deep learning technology. So what we what I use is capsule networks and bidirectional groove deep learning architecture based model. So it has the ability to detect normal malicious web domains as well as dictionary based malicious web domains, which are mostly considered the hardest to detect in the real world. And according to research that I did, where most of the already available solutions are struggling to detect. So my model, the model I came up with, can detect both of those. So that is for my product. So if you wanna contact me, these are my contact numbers. So thank you.
I'm Vishmika Nepala. This is about the product iSegmenter. The high-level idea of iSegmenter is to create segmentation models for any domain with minimum human interaction. I will take you through the real-world scenarios that motivated me to develop the product iSegmenter. With the rapid growth of AI, researchers, industry, and students are targeting to create AI-based solutions. In year 2022, autonomous driving vehicles, medical imaging systems, AR/VR are no longer science fictions. Thousands of engineers, researchers worldwide are already testing and improving the quality of computer vision applications. Improving computer vision based applications is not easy. There are a set of fundamental tasks in computer vision, and semantic segmentation is one of them. It's a long-standing and a challenging task. Improving semantic image segmentation is a crucial factor that can improve the quality of computer vision-based applications in various fields. I have conducted a pilot study to validate the identified problem. Above listed people are the ones who participated for the pilot study. Through conducting the pilot study, it was identified that semantic image segmentation is a crucial factor that can improve the quality of computer vision applications in various fields. As you can see, more than 70% of the pilot study participants are experts in machine learning and deep learning fields, while the rest of them have been expertise at computer vision and image processing. So iSegmenter introduces a novel framework to create segmentation models utilizing GANs and neural architecture search for any domain with minimum human involvement. So the target audience would be students, researchers, and industry who are creating segmentation models for any domain. The quality of the product iSegmenter was evaluated with 7 academic evaluations, 16 industry evaluations, and 3 IEEE research publications. Academic and industry experts are associated with these universities and companies. I'm Vanquish Murishara Ganepala, and if you have any questions, contact me through this email address. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isal, and this is an explanation of my final year project, Lazy Koala, a lightweight framework for root cause analysis in distributed systems. So first of all, let me introduce you to 3 key problems every site reliability engineer has to face during their work time. So the first main issue is developers tend to be lazy, and when they are developing a new application, they tend to solely focus on the business logic of the application and leave next to nothing on the observability capabilities of that application, which make it very difficult to maintain in production. Secondly, the modern systems tend to be very big and dynamic to a point where Uber is running over uh, 4,000 microservices in their servers. So a single failure in one of those services could create a ripple effect which affect all the neighboring services. So to finding the root cause of such a ripple effect is a very hard thing to do. So with this project, I'm offering 3 solutions for those problems. First, a eBPF based no code instrumentation technique, which can be used to extract telemetry about all running services without any developer involvement. Secondly, since the current rule-based techniques tend to have a lot of limitations. I am proposing a AI-powered system where the AI model adapt to the service on runtime. Finally, I am packaging all these into a nice UI so the developers and SREs can easily understand the issues in the system. So this is the high-level architecture of the system. So this is a summary of my entire project, and you can see. And thanks for listening. I'm Isala Pieresi. You can find me on these links.
This is Paris, a brilliant student who is gone through quite a decline, constantly getting late for his classes, grades starting to drop, and increasing antisocial behavior. The truth is that he thinks he might have depression, but his parents simply dismissed his feelings. Furthermore, they couldn't justify spending hundreds of dollars to go see a psychiatrist just because their son was a little down. He couldn't open up about it to others because he was scared of the stigma. Alright, Paris isn't a real person, but he does exist all around all of us. Did you know that 2/3 of depression cases are estimated to undiagnosed? And the reality is that 66% of depression cases go misdiagnosed through traditional methods. And that's why IntelliGnosis was created, an objective intelligent detection of depression through EEG signals. EEG is a simple machine that detects the electrical signals running in our brains, so we can use it to detect depression accurately without needing long and unreliable traditional methods. But why it hasn't been? Because it involves a ton of data and calculations that takes too long.
So we use machine learning to automate this process. With K-nearest neighbor algorithms and reliable datasets, we got an accuracy of up to 82%. All you need is an EEG report taken from our machine, and our desktop program made with Electron will do the rest. Our target group is young adults and elderly people, because research shows that they are the most likely to undergo depression. So what's in it for you? Well, once we gain credibility and backing of psychologists in testing in hospitals, we can partner with a company that makes portable EEG machines and sell them as a package to schools, universities, and elderly homes as our target market. Our source code can remain open source to aid the academic research in this topic. We can also expand our program to other mental illnesses in the future and have a mobile companion app to change the landscape of medical industries and technology. We're the team Unicoders. And the next time you meet a Baris in your workplace, family, friends, or even if you see a Baris in you, know that IntelliGnosis can help you get the help that you need. Thank you.